Have you ever had that sinking feeling when you open up a legacy code base, that little knot in your stomach? Well, today we're not just talking about cleaning up messy code. We're going to talk about a professional discipline that turns that fear into pure confidence. This is refactoring, and honestly, it's one of the most critical skills in any modern developer's tool. Oh yeah, we've all been there. You inherit a project, you open up a file, and you are just hit with this wall of complexity. You need to add one tiny feature, but you're terrified that changing a single line is going to bring the whole system crashing down around you. That's the reality of working with legacy code, right? Well, refactoring is our way out of that maze. And you know, this quote from Martin Fowler, it just hits the nail on the head. Our job isn't just to make things work. It's to build systems that are clear, that are elegant, and that can be easily understood and changed by the next developer, who, let's be honest, is probably going to be you in 6 months. So, what is refactoring, really? I mean, formally. It's the process of changing the internal structure of code to make it easier to understand and cheaper to modify, all without changing its external behavior. Now, that last part, that is the golden rule. If you change what the code does for the outside world, you're not refactoring anymore. You're just breaking things. Okay, so this is the first big mental shift we have to make. Refactoring is not some cleanup sprint you schedule when things get too messy. It's a continuous, totally integrated part of the development process. It's the discipline that lets teams keep their speed and agility for the long haul, instead of just grinding to a halt under the weight of their own code. A really great way to think about this is the two hats metaphor. So when you're adding a feature, you put on your adding hat. It's okay for tests to be read for a little bit while you're building. But when you decide to refactor, you switch to your refactoring hat. Here, your one and only goal is to improve the structure. And the tests, they have to stay green the entire time. The most important rule, never ever wear both hats at the same time. Keep your commits small and focused. Either add a feature or refactor, not both. And this whole mindset is guided by a few core principles. The Boy Scout rule is so simple but so powerful. If you touch a module, just make one small improvement before you leave. Then there's Yagni, or you ain't gonna need it. This is a huge one. It's a reminder to fight that urge to build for some hypothetical future. Just solve today's problems with the simplest thing that could possibly work. All of this together, it creates a culture of continuous improvement. Okay, so we're bought into the mindset, but how do we know what to refactor? Well, we look for something called code smells. Now, what's really important to get is that smells aren't bugs. They aren't necessarily wrong or broken. They're just symptoms, clues, that hint at a deeper structural problem in the code that's probably slowing you down. These smells usually fall into a few common categories. You've got bloaters, which is just code that's gotten way too big. You know, a single function that's hundreds of lines long. It's impossible to understand and even harder to reuse. Then you have OOP abusers, which is when you're kind of fighting against the principles of object-oriented design. That messy switch statement checking an object's type, that is a huge red flag that you should be using polymorphism, which we'll talk about in a minute. And change preventers are my personal nemesis. That's when one tiny change forces you to go hunt through a dozen different files. Just recognizing these patterns is the first step to healing your codebase. So, once we've diagnosed a smell, we treat it with specific refactoring techniques. The key here is to think like a surgeon. We use small, mechanical, and totally safe steps. We are not doing a risky open heart transplant here. We're making a series of very precise, very low-risk incisions. All right, let's look at a classic. Deeply nested if statements are one of the hardest things for our brains to actually parse. A fantastic technique to fix this is using something called guard clauses. Just look at the difference here. The before code is what I call a pyramid of doom, a huge series of nested if-else blocks where it's so hard to follow the main success path. The after code, though, uses guard clauses. It just checks for the weird edge cases and exits early. And then bam, the primary logic is linear, it's flat, and it is incredibly easy to read. This is a perfect example of how one small structural change can have a massive impact on clarity. Now for a slightly more advanced one. Let's say you have a switch statement that shows up in multiple places, and it's always switching on the type of an object to figure out what to do. This is a major code smell, because every time you add a new type, you have to go on a scavenger hunt and update every single one of those switch statements. It's a nightmare. The cure is to replace that conditional with polymorphism. Now, polymorphism sounds like a scary, fancy word, but it's a simple idea. Instead of asking an object what type it is and then deciding what to do, you just tell the object to do the thing and it knows how to do it for itself. It's like having different animals. You can just tell each one to make a sound, and the dog barks while the cat meows. You don't need a big switch statement to figure it out. Here, we move that logic into separate classes, which makes the whole system so much easier to extend in the future. So these small techniques are amazing for daily improvements. But what if you're staring down an entire legacy monolith that needs a serious overhaul? You can't just tell the business to stop everything for 6 months while you rewrite it from scratch. So how do you modernize a system while it's still running and serving customers? For this, we can use a pattern like the strangler fig. The idea is you put a proxy or a facade in front of the old system. Then, piece by piece, you build out new modern services. And as you do, you update that proxy to route traffic to the new services instead of the old code. Over time, the new system literally grows over the old one, and eventually the legacy system is strangled and can be safely turned off. And you did it all without a risky Big Bang rewrite. But hold on. Before you attempt any of this, from the tiniest rename to a full-on strangler fig migration, there is one absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite. Without this one thing, you are flying completely blind and you are not refactoring safely. You're just making a mess. So here's the crucial point. Legacy code is not about how old it is. It's about testability. Legacy code is simply code without tests. If you don't have a solid test suite, you have absolutely no way to verify that your changes haven't broken something important. No tests means no safety net. It really is that simple. And your safety net needs a few specific kinds of tests. For old systems, characterization tests are absolutely vital. Imagine you've got some complex calculation, and you're not even sure it's correct. A characterization test just runs a bunch of inputs through it and records all the outputs. Now you have a snapshot of the current behavior, warts and all. When you refactor, you can run the same tests to make sure the outputs are identical. You're preserving the behavior so you can change the structure safely. Ultimately, refactoring isn't a single event. It's more like a healthy lifestyle for your code base. So let's take a look at how all this translates into the daily habits and tools that professional development teams use. The good news is, you're not alone in this. Your IDE can automatically extract a piece of code into a new function and safely update all the places it's called, which seriously reduces the risk of human error. Static analysis tools are like having a linter on steroids. They can automatically flag code smells in your pull requests before they ever even get merged. These tools are a massive force multiplier for any team that takes quality seriously. And here's where it all comes together in your daily workflow. A bad pull request is a Frankenstein's monster. It mixes a feature, a bug fix, and some random refactoring all together. It's impossible to review effectively. A good PR, on the other hand, is small, it's focused, and it does one thing well. It remembers the two hats metaphor, making it easy for your teammates to understand what you're doing, review it, and merge it with confidence. So, let's bring it all home. Refactoring is not the heroic, late-night cleanup session before a big release. It's the daily, disciplined work of professionals. You can think of it like compounding interest for your codebase. Small, regular investments keep it healthy, adaptable, and honestly, a pleasure to work in. And that leaves us with one final question for you. Think about the code you're working on right now. What's one confusing variable name you could make clearer? One nested conditional you could flatten out? What's one small improvement you can make today to leave that code just a little bit better than you found it? Easy Dev. Programming explained simply.